दोस्तों आज के पॉडकास्ट में आपको बहुत मज़ा आएगा क्योंकि ये वन ऑफ द मोस्ट सक्सेसफुल बिजनेस एग्जीक्यूटिव का इंटरव्यू है इंडिया से। इंडियन म्यूज़िक इंडस्ट्री में 2014 में इन्होंने एक म्यूज़िक लेबल की शुरुआत की स्क्रैच से, और जिसको बहुत ही कम टाइम में इन्होंने इंडिया का सेकंड बिगेस्ट म्यूज़िक लेबल बनाया। 600 से ज़्यादा फिल्में एक्वायर की। ये म्यूज़िक इंडस्ट्री से ताल्लुक़ नहीं रखते थे। इन्होंने बहुत सारी नई इनोवेशन की, बहुत सारी नई स्ट्रैटेजी की, कई सारे प्रोडक्शन हाउसेस के साथ काम किया, बहुत सारे नए आर्टिस्ट साइन किए। कुछ आर्टिस्ट आप जानते हैं, जुबिन नौटियाल, असीस कौर, स्टेबिन बेन, ज्योतिका टंगरी। अपने 25 साल के करियर में क्या क्या चैलेंजेस फेस किए, क्या क्या नए इनोवेशन किए, क्या क्या नई स्ट्रैटेजी यूज़ की, और ऐसे बहुत सारे आपको अंदर की बातें पता चलेगी। साथ में आपको ये भी पता चलेगा कि आपको एज एन आर्टिस्ट जब आप लेबल से डील करते हो तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए, एज एन मैनेजर और एज ए रिप्रेजेंटेटिव आर्टिस्ट जब आप डील करते हो तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए, एज एन एग्जीक्यूटिव अगर आपको इतना लंबा करियर स्पैन करना है तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए। रिसेंटली ही हैज़ finished his journey with Zee and he is starting his own entrepreneurship journey with Happy Media। तो आज को बहुत कुछ जानने को आपको मिलेगा, बहुत मज़ा आएगा। प्लीज़ वेलकम अनुराग बेदी।
Thank you, Tarsam, for having me on your show.
आई एम ऑल्सो वेरी एक्साइटेड ऑनेस्टली। तो सबसे पहले ना सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात पे शुरू करते हैं। जी म्यूज़िक की जर्नी के बारे में बात करते हैं। 2014 में जी म्यूज़िक की शुरुआत कैसे हुई? राइट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट कॉल यू मस्ट हैव गॉट, व्हाट वाज गोइंग ऑन योर माइंड, व्हाट डिड यू थिंक, बिकॉज यू वर नॉट रनिंग अ म्यूज़िक लेबल बिफोर।
So it was just random. It was very abrupt, and our management had just called me one evening. I still remember I was in Novotel, asking me what's the issue going on between composers and labels. I said yes, there's some royalty issue that I've heard about that's going on, and I'm not too privy on that knowledge as yet, but I can find out and come back to you tomorrow. So the next day I went to meet our management, and I was told that how much money do you need to launch a music label? So I was stumped, and I just randomly, just threw up a number. I said about 500 crores. And I was told on the spot, go ahead and launch it. And I didn't know what to do, Tarsam. So I didn't know what was distribution, I didn't know what was IP, I didn't know what was copyright, I didn't know what was master. I just knew artists and I knew film and I knew music. Right, so I said, now wow, the work starts now. So while I was running the broadcast part of the business, I used to run a channel called ETC as well, which had a strong connect with the film industry. And that's where I built a lot of equity with a lot of film industry personnel. तो सबको जानता था मैं at some point, producers, directors, actors. So the journey then started that I want music, and we actually rolled out very quickly, from going and signing output deals with Fox Star Studio. I remember we signed a output deal of 6 films way back in 2014, and the next I did was a 22 film deal with Viacom Motion Pictures, and I said that's good enough to start with content. And that's when we actually rolled out. Our first film was Holiday, starring Akshay Kumar. I still remember that was a big challenge for all of us. We actually broke the song at Zee TV 9 p.m. worldwide, 3.5-minute song.
Wow.
All channels of Zee at 9 p.m. broke out the song, first song of Holiday. That was the entry of Zee Music into the so-called music space. Of course, prior to that, we had a brand called Zee Records, which was in cold storage for quite some time. But we came out fresh. We said we want a new brand name, and that's why Zee Music Company rolled out.
तो जी में मुझे याद है हॉलीडे के टाइम आप लोगों के ऊपर आपने एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था
जी,
और उस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी पीपल टुक इट पॉजिटिवली। दूसरी बात, हॉलीडे के टाइम आपके ऊपर प्रेशर था कि आप प्रमोशन कितना कर पाओगे, तो शायद आपने पहले गाने में कुछ ओवर स्पेंड भी किया था, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग।
तो यस, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस एक रखी थी हमने ताज लैंड्स एंड में। हमने सब प्रोड्यूसर को इनवाइट किया था, We had practically almost all producers and their representatives वो मीटिंग में. वहाँ पे हमने अनाउंस किया कि हम म्यूजिक चैनल, म्यूजिक लेबल लॉन्च करना चाहते हैं. And we will pay the royalties that are due as per law to the respective holder of the copyright or royalty holder. And with this promise in mind, we said that we will enter the music space. And we want everyone's support in giving us content. We need content. और वहाँ पे हमने, there were challenges where people actually questioned us, saying that how will you promote music, and आप कैसे गाना को कैसे गर्म करो, आप तो जानते ही नहीं हो कुछ. And the only answer I had at that point of time was, we run a broadcast company. Our reach is far, far, far more larger than any music label in this country traditionally has been. That's the advantage a big broadcaster like Zee brings to the table. और वहाँ से फिर हमने प्रूव किया हॉलिडे पे, जब हमने गाना जी टीवी, पूरा जी नेटवर्क वर्ल्ड वाइड, 9 बजे हमने ब्रेक किया, 3.5 मिनट का गाना, तू ही तो है, प्रीतम दा का गाना था, आई रिमेंबर. और उस फिल्म पे हमने दिखाना था कि एज अ ब्रॉडकास्टर एंड एज अ लेबल वी नो व्हाट वी आर डूइंग. और हमने एक्चुअली मार्केटिंग जो साइन किया था, हमने आई थिंक दुगना या तिगना खर्चा किया मार्केटिंग पे, बहुत पैसे खर्चा किए. उन दिनों में काफ़ी मोनोपोली होती थी म्यूजिक चैनल्स पे, 17-18 म्यूजिक चैनल होते थे, आई रिमेंबर.
9XM, Masti.
A lot of them.
2 of them were yours only.
Absolutely, but a lot of channels were there, and the concept was कि पूरा गाना बजेगा and then promo बजेगा. That was the concept of marketing at that point of time. So people used to not, the rival channels used to not play the song. They would just play the promo because promo was paid, right? तो गाना चलता नहीं था, तो प्रोड्यूसर को फोन आता था मेरे को कि अनुराग गाना नहीं चल रहा है. So I was like, okay, spend more money. I started putting 90-seconders instead of 30-seconders. That cost me 3x the visibility, 3x the price. फिर मैंने सोचा कि चलो कुछ अलग करते हैं. मैंने 3.5 मिनट का गाना थिएटरों में चला दिया. सारे थिएटर में मैंने बुकिंग कर ली. हर पिक्चर जो लगी थी 2 महीने, we started the marketing campaign 2 months before. 2 महीने से पहले हर पिक्चर के अंदर तू ही तो है करार, वो गाना बज रहा था थिएटर हॉल में. And I was eclated with, we were like super happy with the response. It actually, people started calling me and telling me, I'm like, what did you do? So yeah, we dared to think different. We were like bold. We were not shying away from doing anything in the traditional format. Yes, there was a lot of pressure on marketing because a lot of those music channels were controlled by various agencies. It wasn't easy to get about, just launching your marketing activity, convincing a lot of stakeholders in the film, a lot of opinions, a lot of people just call and tell the producers, "Gana garam nahi ho raha hai," which leads to the opening being weak of any film. तो ये सब चीज़ें हुई, काफ़ी हुई स्टार्टिंग में, बट निकल आए, सोचा कुछ अलग, किया कुछ अलग.
एंड कितना वियर्ड होता है कि जिस गाने पे आपने सबसे ज़्यादा खर्चा किया, कभी कभी वो गाना सबसे ज़्यादा रेवेन्यू नहीं देता है. और बहुत सारे ऐसे गाने होंगे जिस पे आपने शायद इतना खर्चा नहीं किया और वो आपको बहुत रेवेन्यू देके गए. तो ऐसा कोई गाना आपको याद आ रहा है
जिस पे खर्चा किया और नहीं चला?
नहीं, जिस पे खर्चा नहीं किया और चला.
बहुत सारे गाने हैं. इनफैक्ट देयर वाज अ वेरी नाइस सॉन्ग कॉल्ड मिले हो तुम. आई डोंट नो इफ यू हैव हर्ड इट.
मिले हो तुम हमसे, ऑफ कोर्स नेहा कक्कड़.
जी. तो मिले हो तुम की कहानी बहुत अच्छी है. इट्स अ वेरी नाइस स्टोरी. ये गाना आया था कोई राजीव खंडेलवाल की पिक्चर थी. आई डोंट रिमेंबर द नेम. एंड आई रियली लाइक द सॉन्ग. टोनी ने गाया था वो गाना. एंड मैंने बोला, यार टोनी गाना तो बहुत बढ़िया है, कैन वी गेट अरिजीत टू सिंग इट? कहते सर मैं रहन दो ना मेरी आवाज़ में. आई फेल्ट टोनी इज द आर्टिस्ट का वाला पेन आई अंडरस्टूड फ्रॉम टोनी. एंड आई टोल्ड हिम दैट चलो ठीक है, लेट्स डू वन थिंग, let's create a female version of it. I'll shoot the song with you and Neha. He says, done, sir. So we said, damn good. So I called up one of our dear friends, Aditya. I said, Adi, program kar lo. Neha will dub the song. Neha dubbed the song. And at that point of time, I remember we had a set in office,
कोमल
which
नाटक
used to
यहाँ
be
पे shoot
Komal
होता है,
set.
हाँ,
Yes,
correct.
Komal set. We used to do the Bollywood business show there. And subah subah, Neha called me and said, I'm reaching the studio 9:30, 10 in the morning. And I said, yeah, we're ready to roll out and we'll shoot the song. We shot the song. Neha was very angry. I don't know for what. I think she expected a bigger set and stuff, though she didn't tell me. I think so. If you see the starting of the song, there's a frame where Neha does not seem to be too pleasant on that. Maybe she was angry with me for calling her early morning to shoot that song. So, Tarsan, that song we shot in 5,000 rupees. Zero marketing. And that song went to cross 1 billion views. And this is just YouTube. Forget what is done on social and streaming and stuff. So coming back to that is कई गाने ऐसे ही होते हैं जो चल जाते हैं बगैर कोई खर्चे बगैर कोई मार्केटिंग बगैर कोई पुश दैट्स द पावर ऑफ कंटेंट दैट्स द कन्विक्शन ऑफ कंटेंट और दैट आर्टिस्ट जो आपको वो दिल से बना के देता है
Nearly 1,000 time returns.
एब्सोल्युटली 1,000 इज एन अंडरस्टेटमेंट इट्स एन अंडरस्टेटमेंट बहुत ज्यादा गुना
I'm sure गाना जब hit हो गया तो फिर Neha was happy.
Oh, she was thrilled. She was thrilled. In fact,
That's a part of the doing a great song.
there was another thing to it. So one of our in-house directors had directed that video, and he said, "Please remove my name from director credits." I said, "Why? Why would he do that?" He says, "It's below my standard, so I don't want my name to be associated with this." So I said, "Your wish is my command. No problem." And as the song crossed 200 million, I get a call. It says, "Please put my name back." I said, "Okay, we'll put your name back." So yeah, that's the journey of, content. You need to believe in content. It's not about how much money you spend on it.
True. Also, in fact, मुझे याद है when I first came to your office, तो आपका जो सेटअप होता था उस सेटअप पे 12 टीवी लगे होते थे, 12 या 15, और हर टीवी पे हर म्यूजिक चैनल चल रहा होता था. यूज टू ट्रैक कि कौन सा गाना खुद का कंपटीशन का कितनी बार वो दौर था शायद म्यूजिक चैनल्स पे गाना बजना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था. बट यू ब्रोक दैट ट्रेंड. आई थिंक यू वर द फर्स्ट वन हु ब्रोक दैट ट्रेंड कि म्यूजिक चैनल अगर आपके गाना नहीं बजा रहे हैं तो हम कोई दूसरा रास्ता ढूंढते हैं. जैसे आपने थिएटर वाला ढूंढा, आपने यूट्यूब पे भी काफ़ी स्पेंड करना शुरू किया.
So you're right. I started monitoring, there was a device which used to split one screen into 4, and we had 12 channels or 13 channels, I remember, and we were watching non-stop whose song is playing how many times. तभी reports भी नहीं आती थी, it was just manually watching.
कोई चार्ट्स भी नहीं थे.
Charts भी नहीं थे, कुछ नहीं था. It was just a manual TV at that point of time. And I said, till when can this go on? I was buying media at 3x the price of other labels because the agencies who were controlling these channels were obviously selling it to us at a much higher price. And I said, this won't sustain too long. These marketing costs are unaffordable. And the only way out was to do something different. So whilst we did try the theater in Holiday and, it was kind of helped to push, but there had to be a replacement of the traditional power called TV, right? 13 music channels put together were almost commanding close to 200 odd GRPs, which was equal to a leading GEC's viewership at that point of time in terms of GRPs, right? So you had to kind of shift people from the traditional medium to a new medium was a big challenge, right? And that was something which we said, I was actually confused and बहुत सोचा मैंने कि क्या करे. And one fine day, I said, ये जो mastered है YouTube पे, उसको ही खरीद लेते हैं 24 घंटे के लिए. So I struck a deal with YouTube for 10 mastheads. And believe me, the price that I paid at that point of time for a masthead would be 1/20th or 1/50th of what today the masthead costs.
Because it was a new innovation for them also.
It was a new innovation. And the first song to get onto the masthead was, for 24 hours, was Kala Chashma. On mobile and desktop, both. 24 hours, it was right up there. And that's when I thought, actually when that happened, the first day of Kala Chashma, literally there was an earthquake in Andheri West. So
Musical earthquake.
Musical earthquake, of course. And of course, I was smiling away to glory, and I said, "Oh God, this is the moment that probably we were waiting for." And so now this so-called shift from traditional to digital actually needs to be glorified further, right? And we started branding the thumbnails on YouTube. We were the first to do so, where 24 hours, 20 million views or 15 million views.
You made it a currency.
We made it a currency because I had to shift people away from traditional. There was a problem which had to be solved, right? I had to acknowledge that Zee Music was the new age kid on the block who was doing superior marketing with their digital strategy. So we started branding thumbnails with 24-hour views, 48-hour views, 100 million, 200 million, and that became our identity, right? And that's become actually an industry currency today. I see a lot of labels now having this.
Every label.
Absolutely.
Literally everybody, all artist labels.
So proudly we can say that we were part of that journey to coin that part of.
और जिनको नहीं पता होगा मास्टर्ड होता क्या, थोड़ा सा बताइए ना. मतलब जरा बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होंगे यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, उनको नहीं समझ में आएगा कि मास्टर्ड क्या है.
तो आप जैसे यूट्यूब पे जाते हो, एक बड़ा सा बैनर ऊपर है एडवर्टाइजिंग के लिए. उसके अंदर जब आपका 30 सेकंड का प्रोमो चलता है, राइट, इट्स अ विजुअल मीडियम. इट्स एनीवन हु कम्स ऑन टू यूट्यूब गेट्स टू सी योर प्रोमो ऑफ 30 सेकंड.
और आपने जो किया था पूरी इंडिया में जो भी यूट्यूब खोले उसको दिखता था.
यस.
अब तो वो अलग सेपरेट भी हो गया.
मोबाइल पे भी और डेस्कटॉप पे भी.
अब तो वो सेपरेट हो गया.
अब तो सेपरेट हो गया.
खाली बॉम्बे का अलग है, खाली दिल्ली का अलग है.
और आजकल तो 10 क्लाइंट मास्टर्ड पे अपनी रीच खरीदते हैं. मैंने तो पूरा खरीद लिया था वो टाइम पे. सारा रीच अपना था एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम फॉर दैट सॉन्ग.
कि इंडिया में जो भी यूट्यूब खोले उसको देखना ही पड़ेगा, ऑप्शन नहीं.
एब्सोल्युटली 24 आवर्स में. तो वो जो व्यूअरशिप थी एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, आई थिंक इट सरपास्ड. आई डिडंट इवन इमेजिन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ व्यूअरशिप इट वुड हैव हिट. It surpassed all expectations. The song just, like I said, वो भूचाल आ गया था अंधेरी वेस्ट में वो गाने पे.
And correct me if I'm wrong कि YouTube पहले Zee Music का चैनल लॉन्च करने के लिए भी तैयार नहीं था.
They were showing a little resistance. So when we told YouTube that please give us a CMS, we want to हम म्यूजिक लेबल स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, हमें CMS दे दो. कहते नहीं यार, आप लोग 1-2 पिक्चर लोगे फिर आप डालोगे नहीं, CMS नहीं, आप कोई डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के थ्रू चले जाओ. तभी आई थिंक वो कपल ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स होते थे. So we did have resistance when we started from day one, but eventually it happened. We started from, I remember I was the first subscriber, and our teams were all, we've reached some 25 or 30 subscribers, right, to start with everybody in the office. We had a very lean team. We had about just 25 people when we launched. So I remember day one, we had just 25 subscribers on YouTube.
So जिनको भी नहीं पता CMS के बारे में, CMS is Channel Management System of YouTube. तो generally there are agencies who has CMS, जहाँ पे बहुत सारे चैनल्स को ऑनबोर्ड कर सकते हैं. और जब कोई सिंगल चैनल बहुत ही साइजेबल होता है तो उनको इंडिविजुअल CMS मिलता है. तो हम लोग ना अभी भी चैलेंजेस की बात कर रहे हैं. बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस थे जब आपने शुरू किया. एक था कि जो भी बड़े प्रोड्यूसर्स थे, जो भी बड़े प्रोडक्शन हाउस लाइक धर्मा, आई गेट टू नो दैट धर्मा में आपको काफ़ी मशक्क़त करनी पड़ी थी. बहुत टाइम लगा था कन्विंस करने में कि दे शुड गिव देयर फिल्म्स टू यू. उसके बारे में बात करना चाहेंगे तो?
जी. So a very interesting journey with Dharma actually. Our first film actually was Shandar with Dharma. So I still remember when we launched in 2014. I think Shandar आई थी 2016 में, if I'm not wrong. Every Friday I would message Apurva and Karan, please give me an opportunity to work on your music. मुझे एक चांस दो. और आई थिंक 2 साल तक मैंने वो किया था. टिल वन डे आई गॉट अ कॉल एंड सेज आजा तेरे लिए पिक्चर है.
2 साल?
2 साल अप्रोक्सीमेटली 2 साल. तो तभी धर्मा होता था बैंड्रा में. तो अपूर्वा से मिलने में गया था. तो अपूर्वा ने बोला ब्रदर्स हमारी पिक्चर आ रही है, आप कर लो म्यूजिक, लेट्स स्टार्ट द जर्नी. तो आई सेड आई एम वेरी एक्साइटेड, लेट्स स्टार्ट इट. ब्रदर्स के अलावा मुझे एक और दे दो विच हैज अ यंगर कास्ट. तो उन्होंने बोला कि ठीक है, शानदार है, उसमें शाहिद कपूर है और आलिया भट्ट है, पर वो थोड़ी महंगी है. मैं ले लेता हूँ, नो प्रॉब्लम. तो उन्होंने कहा फिर वो तो मैंने कमिट कर दी किसी और को, मैंने बोला प्लीज स्वैप कर दो, वो फिर आप ब्रदर्स उनको दे दो, मुझे शानदार दे दो। तो मेरे माइंड में यही था कि द फर्स्ट टाइम आई एम वर्किंग विद धर्मा, आई वांटेड टू वर्क विद यंगर faces as well. At the back end, obviously, I could not tell them that I have most of the Akshay Kumar films with me. And I wanted new cast as well. I wanted the next generation of talent as well. And तब I placed my bet on Shandar. And उसमें एक गाना आपको याद होगा, गुलाबो. वो जब आया था, I think that was a great song of its time. It's one of the best works of my favorite Amit Trivedi. That song had just done great wonders. I think the film opened also very well, but I think the film didn't do well overall from a
Commercial
appreciation,
standpoint,
perspective. But the music worked beautifully.
In fact, Shandar also worked.
Yeah.
The title.
The title, yeah, the entire album picked up.
It's one of the best album for Amit as well, or Anusha Mani's career got built because of
absolutely. And recently, a great artist of my favorite, Arijit, performed that song on one of his shows. I just saw the reel, and it was so gratifying to watch it.
एक्चुअली मैं ना इस बारे में इसलिए भी बात कर रहा हूँ, बहुत बार जब हम लोग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स है, बहुत यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स है, उनको ऐसा लगता है कि पैसा ही सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है।
जी।
तो आपके पास, आपके बॉस ने बोला 500 करोड़ ले लो, इससे ज़्यादा पैसा तो क्या ही होगा। दूसरी बात होती है कि नेटवर्क बड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है। तो आपके पास जी है, जो इंडिया का उस टाइम मेरे ख्याल से ग्लोबली 190 कंट्रीज़ में ट्रैवल करते थे, इतना बड़ा नेटवर्क था।
बिल्कुल।
तो वो भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। फिर होता है कि यार एजुकेशन एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है, आप 15 साल से इंडस्ट्री में थे, लेकिन उसके बाद भी एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जर्नी आसान नहीं होती है। कोई भी बिजनेस खड़ा करना लोगों को समझ में नहीं। जैसे आपने बोला कि आपको 2 साल लगा, मैं ऑनेस्टली बता रहा हूँ, बहुत लोगों को ये लगेगा कि अरे कितना आसान होगा यार, फ़ोन किया हो जाएगा काम। और अब हम चैलेंजेस की बात करना शुरू कर रहे हैं, और चैलेंजेस पे अभी आ रहे हैं। शुरुआत में शायद डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी आप सोनी के थ्रू करते थे, फिर हंगामा के थ्रू, and then finally can you talk a little bit about that as well?
So like I'd said earlier, the label launched overnight. We didn't know what to do. Now because of my television journey, I knew all the labels in terms of relationships. तो सब दोस्त थे, तो मैंने एक्विजिशन तो कर ली थी फॉक्सस्टार की और वाईकॉम की। अब डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कैसे करें वो हमें पता नहीं था। यूट्यूब तो चलो सीख लेते, आई वॉज नॉट वरीड अबाउट यूट्यूब। तो मैं सोनी के पास में गया, हमारे दोस्त थे शानुजीत वहाँ पे, तो मैंने उनको बोला कि डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करोगे आप, मैंने पिक्चर तो खरीद ली है। कहता हाँ करेंगे। तो हमने प्राइस तय कर लिया, ये प्राइस तय कर लिया, और हमने 5 साल का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सोनी को दे दिया फॉर द फर्स्ट सेट ऑफ 5 or 6 फिल्म्स, आई रिमेंबर। Distribution of digital platforms and CRBT was done by Sony. उसके बाद में सोनी का एपेटाइट नहीं था और 22 फिल्में करने की, तो मैंने बोला अभी ये दूसरा ढूंढना पड़ेगा। तो द नेक्स्ट सेट डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर वाज हंगामा फॉर द नेक्स्ट सेट ऑफ 22 फिल्म्स। सो वी हैड मल्टीपल डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स इन द फर्स्ट ईयर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग
कुछ फिल्में यहाँ, कुछ फिल्में वहाँ,
बिकॉज वॉल्यूम इतना हाई था ना कंटेंट। वी वर डूइंग ऑलमोस्ट 50 फिल्म्स अ ईयर, 50 or 60 films a year from day one.
And you're kind of responsible for ruining the price as well at that time.
I call it anyone who enters Tarsem has to pay the entry fee. So we also had to pay the entry fee, and eventually it kind of pans out.
Correct.
And works well. So.
तो आपने जैसे बहुत सारी नई नई स्ट्रैटेजीज लगाई, उसमें से जैसे कुछ स्ट्रैटेजी थी मार्केटिंग इनोवेशन, एक स्ट्रैटेजी थी कि आपने कभी किसी को म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री से हायर नहीं किया। एनी स्पेसिफिक रीजन?
तो I was very apprehensive initially that I don't want to hire anybody from the existing ecosystem. जब मैं एक्विजिशन कर रहा था, मैं एक प्रोड्यूसर के घर पे पहुंचा बैंड्रा में, और जैसे ही मेरी मीटिंग स्टार्ट हो रही थी, उनके फ़ोन पे एक राइवल लेबल का फ़ोन कॉल आ गया। तो उन्होंने दिखाया, देख। तो मैं सोचा कोइंसिडेंस होगा, पर ये 3-4 बार होने लग गया कि मैं जहाँ पे जाता हूँ कोई राइवल लेवल का फ़ोन आ जाता था वही टाइम पे। तो दैट काइंड ऑफ मेड मी a little wary on how information was kind of leaking out and stuff. So I made it a my personal thing that we'll not hire anybody from any existing label. We'll apply our fresh minds. We don't want any baggage from a thought process of an erstwhile company. हमें कुछ अलग ही करना है, हम कुछ अलग ही सोचेंगे. So most of my team, or I would say majority of my team, was the entire broadcast team that were doing multiple roles at broadcast and music together. हम साथ में ही काम कर रहे थे. तो ये था इनिशियल बहुत टीलिंग इश्यूज थे हमारे, काफी इश्यूज थे.
और यू डिड आर्टिस्ट मैनेजमेंट एज वेल.
जी.
एंड फिर आपने फिल्में प्रोड्यूस करना कब शुरू किया? बिकॉज यू स्टार्टेड प्रोड्यूसिंग फिल्म्स एज वेल.
जी.
2014 यू स्टार्टेड द लेबल.
जी. तो जर्नी ऐसी थी कि म्यूजिक वाज द फर्स्ट वन टू रीच आउट टू द प्रोड्यूसर्स ऑफिस. I was able to smell good content. And when I say smell good content, you have a sensibility that you can, try and make out from when the producer or the director tells you a story. You kind of resonate. हमारी जो टीवी की जो knowledge थी वो बहुत मासी knowledge थी हमारी. And that experience really came very handy. तो जहाँ पे मुझे लगा था कि opportunities great हैं, ये story अच्छी लग रही है. In the case of Parmanu, I still remember, I had gone to just buy music of Parmanu, and we ended up actually producing the film for Zee Studios. The whole film we stitched up. Parmanu became the first film I co-produced for Zee, and very critically acclaimed, and box office also it did pretty well. तो ये जर्नी फिर चलती गई जहाँ पे मुझे मौके, avenues, opportunities दिखी. It was very easy for me to, stitch up deals between Zee. We ran satellite, we had a digital division, we had a theatrical division, we had an overseas division. We were doing all aspects of the Bollywood part of it. So it was just kind of lying there, and we had to just stitch it up. So followed with, I remember Dhadak, we stitched up a co-production with Karan. And that film also did very well, where Ishan and Janvi were launched. उसके बाद में we did Article 15 with Anubhav Sinha. That film also did very well. I think it did about a box office of 70 odd crores that time. उसके बाद में a couple of other films in bits and parts, be it distribution, be it overseas distribution. Raksha Bandhan was one of the last films we did with Akshay sir. So opportunities were great. Zee as an ecosystem allows you to kind of, become the entrepreneur within the entrepreneurial system. And it's on you how you kind of stitch up things. That's what the system teaches you,
तो जैसा कि आपको पता कि मैंने भी एक लेबल शुरू किया था, and I almost have met all the major labels and emerging labels in the country, a lot of them. तो सब बोलते हैं कि कंटेंट का जो बिजनेस होता है, उस कंटेंट के बिजनेस में, जैसे म्यूजिक बिजनेस में आप ऑडियो पे इन्वेस्ट करते हो, वीडियो पे इन्वेस्ट करते हो, अगर फिल्म खरीदते हो तो खरीदने पे, कंटेंट एक्विजिशन पे इन्वेस्ट करते हो, फिर मार्केटिंग पे इन्वेस्ट करते हो, फिर टीम, सैलरीज, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, काफ़ी चीज़ों पे इन्वेस्ट करते हो. अगर आपने 100 रुपये इन्वेस्ट किए, तब जाके शायद पहले 20 रुपये बनते हैं या 25 रुपये बनते हैं. फिर इवेंचुअली एक टाइम आता है जब आप अगले 100 रुपये इन्वेस्ट करते हो तो पुराने से पैसा बनता है और फिर नए से पैसा बनता है. तो वो एक फिश कर्व है जो इवेंचुअली जाके एक ऐसा टाइम आता है कि अब जब आप 500 रुपये इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो तो आपको पहले जो 10 साल आपने इन्वेस्ट किए थे उससे ज़्यादा पैसा बन रहा है. दैट्स हाउ द म्यूजिक लेबल एंड द कंटेंट बिजनेस वर्क. आपके लिए वो फिश कर्व कब आया था, एंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ नंबर्स, कि जी म्यूजिक ने कितने रुपए इन्वेस्ट किए और क्या नंबर्स अचीव किए, थोड़ा बता सकते हो?
तो I won't be specific, but I'll give you an idea. I think by the 4th year we were able to break even, Darshan. That was something which, I was quite astonished myself that wow, we've achieved it. क्योंकि हमारी growth बहुत fast चल रही थी. We were investing heavily in content, and new platforms were entering the market. हर साल कोई 1 या 2 player आ रहे थे streaming में, and sizable.
Jio Sawan came at that time, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, Sawan was there that time. Ghana was there.
But Hangama also started.
Hangama was there, and I think Airtel had launched Wink.
Correct.
So every year there was a new service or a new platform coming in.
Apple Music, Amazon Music.
Absolutely, Amazon came in, and then there were other platforms as well which started coming in. So the opportunity was huge. Our growth was huge. We were growing by leaps and bounds. When we launched, obviously, I didn't know 3 years later what platform is going to be launching in this country, right? But you go with the flow. You kind of sense the Indian opportunity, and you kind of read about the global players that would eventually kind of come here. And to our surprise, I think by the fourth year we broke even, and that was the best turning point for us. That now it's time to increase the speed going further.
बट मेरे ख्याल से इंडिया में ये पिछले 10 साल में अकेला लेबल होगा जो इस स्केल पे, बिकॉज वी आर लुकिंग एट 200-300 करोड़ की इन्वेस्टमेंट एवरी ईयर मिनिमम, करेक्ट?
Yes.
तो उसके बाद में अगर हम आपसे पूछें कि अगर हम 100 रुपए खर्च करते तो कितना एबिटा होता होगा?
Difficult to answer that question, EBITDA, but the margins were very healthy. As the years went by, like you said, the fish curve, which is there, the old catalog generates a lot of money. And I think our EBITDA was industry leading, market leading. You're aware of the listed players that are there in the market. And
Zee Music is not specifically listed, so it doesn't come out.
It's not, absolutely. But there are 2 listed music labels in the market.
Saregama and Tips.
Absolutely, yeah. So we were industry leading in terms of the EBITDA.
And आपको फिर सिंगल्स में आने का कब प्लान शुरू हुआ फिल्मों के बाद?
तो ऐसा हुआ था सैम कि मैंने खूब सारे गाने बनाए विद न्यू टैलेंट, न्यू कंपोजर्स, न्यू राइटर्स, न्यू सिंगर्स, एंड मैं गाने बना के बैंक में रखता था.
ये बैंक वर्ड भी आपने शुरू किया, सॉन्ग बैंक.
जी, सॉन्ग.
लॉट ऑफ आर्टिस्ट हेटेड दैट, बट
जी. तो मेरे पास करीबन at a peak point I had about 300 odd songs lying in my bank, which I had made with various composers, new composers, senior composers, new singers, new writers. The journey of a song getting placed into a film is very difficult. There are too many opinions. There are too many decision makers. Everyone has a right of opinion on a song, be it the actor, be it the director, be it the producer, be it anybody on the set.
The maker,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion. And baqaida, I mean, the song is a song. Everyone listens to music.
Yeah. Everybody is a listener, yeah.
So the challenge to convince everybody that this is the song is very difficult. अब मैंने गाने तो बना लिए थे इतने, प्लेस इतने नहीं हो रहे थे पिक्चरों में. Now it's my conviction versus, the maker's conviction or, the creator's conviction. Sometimes you're lucky where everybody goes with your conviction. तो मैंने सोचा कि चलो सिंगल्स बनाते हैं. गाने तो अच्छे ही हैं, बनाए ही हैं, तो मैंने सिंगल्स बनाना शुरू कर लिया. It just happened that songs are lying with me and I started shooting them.
But your single must, in terms of ROI, the non-film give you more ROI or the film give you more ROI?
No. So I really didn't, judge our ROI project basis. I only had one measurement of success was I need 12 hit songs in a year. Where they come from, I don't care. Whether film or non-film.
इतने हिट सिंग तो आजकल पूरी बॉलीवुड में नहीं होते, पूरी इंडस्ट्री में नहीं होते शायद.
Today, I think we don't have more than 15 hits per year. But pre-COVID, the industry had 4 hits a month. The industry was generating 48
major hits.
Yeah, the film industry was generating about 48 hits a year, right? And of that, I needed only 12, right? If you had those 12 hits, your next year's licensing was surely going to take a jump.
I think that's improving now post अभी पिछले साल Animal and
it's looking better, but we are still nowhere compared to pre-COVID. We had 4 hits a month at that point of time.
And आपने बहुत सारे term coin किए थे.
जी.
Bandra music,
जी.
I used to use that term a lot. What is Bandra music?
So Bandra music ऐसा था कि a lot of filmmakers would come and play their music and expect a very significant check for the music. And, it was very difficult to convince them that, that mass music is mass music. So I had to actually tell them that niche is very different from mass, right? But at the same point of time, the reach of that music is only within
a specific
audience. So when I would use the word Bandra music, it would mean a very premium set of audiences and a small niche number of audiences versus the mass. So actually, for me, my life would start outside Mira Road, right? Because that's the mass we would want to cater to, right? That's the mass that would give you those 500 million views on YouTube.
So, जैसे बोलते हैं कि एक इंडिया एक भारत है,
बिल्कुल.
सो आप अपना कंटेंट और टारगेट भारत को रख रहे थे.
मैंने हमेशा भारत के लिए ही म्यूजिक बनाया था फ्रॉम डे वन. We never chased urban niche premium music. Also, with films coming in, there was certain amount of premiumness that you got, right? So, while the sound of Gulabo was very urban and very premium, the composition had a massy thing, right? So, the film music actually balanced out a lot of your urban requirements as well. Whilst I always focus towards creating the mass palette of music. And if you see our YouTube today, it's flooded with the mass viewership of millions and millions of views.
तो आपने अपने जितने भी ये पूरे टाइम पे जी के टाइम पे जितनी भी स्ट्रैटेजीज यूज़ की थी या जितने भी इनोवेशन यूज़ किए थे, व्हाट इज़ योर मोस्ट फेवरेट थिंग्स आउट ऑफ ऑल दी 10 years ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस? फेवरेट मोमेंट्स भी हो सकते हैं जिसने आपको सिखाया हो, अच्छा भी हो सकता है, बुरा भी हो सकता है, फेवरेट लोग भी हो सकते हैं. मतलब व्हाट आर दोज मोमेंट्स व्हिच यू रिमेंबर इन योर 10 years ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस?
In fact, it'll be difficult to point out those single one or two moments because every day was a new day. Every film was a new film. It was different from the previous film. आज अक्षय सर के साथ में ये पिक्चर कर रहा था, अगली पिक्चर कुछ और है, उसका म्यूजिक कुछ और है. So the last 10 years, every day was a different day, Tarsem, and it's very difficult to point out what were my favorite moments within that. But yes, I did have special moments where we'd seen great success of, some song which our conviction was so strong on. जैसे लैला जब आया था, लैला में लैला, वो रईस में था नहीं वो पिक्चर में. वो गाना हमारे पास में पड़ा हुआ था बैंक के अंदर. मैंने यूनिवर्सल से राइट्स लेके रखे हुए थे. और इट वाज फॉर एन अनटाइटल्ड फिल्म, आई रिमेंबर. तो मैं रईस का म्यूजिक सुनने गया था एंड वी हैड साइंड द फिल्म एंड आई वाज लाइक, आई वाजंट टू हैप्पी विद द म्यूजिक. नाउ हाउ डू आई टेल द प्रोड्यूसर्स दैट I'm not happy with the music. They'll say, yeah, you're on a new label. How are you telling us? So I flipped it the other way around. I said, I've got a song, Leila. I think it can be created, Leila mein Leila. It'll be great if you have Mr. Khan and Sunny Leone. It's a headliner. Obviously, they didn't take it too well, but that song actually happened with Mr. Khan and Sunny Leone. And that was another earthquake moment for us. So these earthquake moments where
Pavni sang that song and she was not.
She was a newcomer, absolutely.
She was a newcomer at that time.
Yes, absolutely. And what a voice! I still remember Mr. Khan also saying that you are the Leila of the song. That was a great opportunity for Pavni at that point of time. So ऐसे moments बहुत थे when you get such success, and there are also moments when you think that a song is a great song and it didn't work. जैसे लैला में लैला, लैला मजनू का जो गाना था, ओ मेरी लैला. I thought it was a great song at that point of time. हमने तभी आतिफ के साथ में डब किया था. ज्योतिका, if you remember, sang the female part of it. Yes, she was a newcomer as well. And I was really, really sad at that point of time that the song didn't work. And to the destiny, the song is in top 10 charts today. Yeah. Every song has its destiny, its journey. So these moments are so many. Every day you're living a new day, and every day you have full of these lovely moments. Yeah.
You just mentioned Jyotika. I should congratulate you कि मुझे, because मैं closely काम किया आपके साथ उस टाइम पे, कि आपने बहुत सारे आर्टिस्ट साइन किए. जी. तकरीबन 20 आर्टिस्ट साइन किए होंगे.
I think so.
तकरीबन उसमें से कुछ ऐसे नाम हैं जो नाम शायद आप पहले इंसान थे जिन्होंने विश्वास किया था. ज्योतिका is one of them. Asis is one of them. Zubin Nautiyal is one of them. Stebin Ben is one of them. तो आपने आर्टिस्ट मैनेजमेंट या आर्टिस्टों को साइन करना शुरू क्यों किया? What is your experience out of that journey with all these people?
So वो भी एक मजबूरी थी तारसेम कि जब सारे बड़े जो सिंगर थे वो हमारे लिए स्टार्टिंग में they were not ready to sing, or there was some form of obstruction coming in. So I said, oh, this is another problem we need to solve. It's not possible that I need to depend on those 5 artists only for the future of Zee Music. And that's when I thought, okay, it's time to launch our own talent. How we'll manage it, I will see that later. So I actually, when I heard Jubin's voice, I think he was in a reality show on Sony, some Sony.
Indian Idol, yeah.
Indian Idol nahi, I think it was AXN पे कोई show आता था.
Famex.
Famex, absolutely.
Sonu ji wala.
Yes.
Correct.
I'd heard his voice and I said, "God, the guy has got, a different texture, a different tone in his voice. And maybe this guy is a guy that I would like to back." And I actually wrote to him on Facebook, "Hi, this is Anurag Bedi, the head of Zee Music. This is my number. Please call me." And then after that, I pitched his voice for a year and a half across to everybody in the industry. Of course, people love to work with great names and, the existing stars and stuff. So it was very difficult to kind of convince people to give him a song. And I think finally the first song happened with him where Mr. Sippy, gave me the confidence in a small movie called Sonali Cable. The existing singer was the traditional singer, and Jubin had dubbed Ek Mulaqat and was sounding so fresh and young. And I told Mr. Sippy, let's go with a young, fresh feel. And he backed me and says, your choice, go ahead and do what you want. And that's one of Jubin's greatest entry songs into the industry. I think he was really appreciated and noticed with that. Followed by Shaukeens. And then I remember Amit, I had called him and said, Amit, give him a chance. And we were doing Fitur with Amit that point of time. And he has a great song in Fitur. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a beautiful song.
I remember जब भी मैं आपके पास जाता था तो आप हमेशा अपने लैपटॉप पे 5 गाने मिनिमम मुझे सुनाते थे. उसमें से 2 जुबिन के होते थे उस टाइम पे. So during your artist management days, what have you learned from that experience, if you want to share?
So I think I didn't think too much, Tarsem, कि ज़्यादा सोचा नहीं मैंने artist management क्या होता है. That point of time, it was just budding, right? 2014-15 में कोई ऐसा corporatization था नहीं artist management के लिए. They all were new kids. They were not doing shows, right? And every artist wants to do shows. It's something that
keeps them connected.
Absolutely.
It's revenue, everything.
Absolutely. So the initial phase was very challenging, and I think it's very frustrating for an artist to just sit and wait and watch when will my time come. Mera gana kab hit hoga, mere shows kab chalu honge. So I think the patience part of the game was very challenging. I remember I had reached out to you saying, Tarsan, here are the 5 or 6 artists that we have signed, and can you kind of further take them onto your company, and we'll work out the modalities. And you had told me at that point of time, Anurag, I'll take them on board, but I cannot guarantee they'll do shows, right? I can monetize their existing shows in a better manner, but I can't take the responsibility of getting them shows. That's what their songs will do. That's what their creative power will have to do, And I said, yes, we'll go with the flow. So artist management, again, is a difficult business. I don't know how you've been so successful at it, but it's a very difficult business because 24/7 that artist expects you to be with him through his phase of struggle, through his phase of frustration. कि मेरे गाने हिट नहीं हो रहे, गाने तो आ रहे हैं पर हिट नहीं हो रहे हैं. इसका जवाब आप कैसे दोगे आर्टिस्ट को? So you have to only pacify the artist that don't worry, some songs take longer time, the next one will come. So the challenge is an everyday challenge with an artist. You have to build. I would tell the artist that, a label and an artist is husband and wife. We need to understand each other, right? I can't predict the success of a song, neither can you, right? But we have to go with the flow. And some of them have patience, some of them have great temperament, some of them don't. And we've seen struggles of several of them. I mean, Assis was one of the artists that had great amount of temperament and patience. And what a fine talent today she's emerged to be.
Thank you for introducing her to me. I mean, she's like a family. So
Absolutely.
I remember that conversation. तो अभी और थोड़ा सा डीप डाइव करते हैं कि आपने तकरीबन 500 फिल्में की होंगी साइन.
Over 10 years, I think, Tarzan, we were at 60 films a year. Yes, about 600 films plus in Hindi, plus another, maybe another 1,000 odd in regional, roughly about 2,000 odd films, maybe.
When did this regional journey started?
So I think it started immediately. Whatever just kept coming to my mind, we just started kind of getting into it. There were some low-hanging fruits because of the strength of What Zee had, example Marathi, we had a robust television network. It made only sense to enter that space there. So stitched up some different form of acquisition on that. We actually, started scaling up in Marathi without actually, using cash flow. It was offset against some amount of marketing because a large part of eyeballs were there with Zee at that point of time on the television front. So deals were in various forms and combinations on how we were to enter in what market. And we were just going with the flow. Immediately, we were the lowest hanging fruit for us was entry into Bhojpuri. I still remember our initial lot of Kesari Lal songs. We used to do at about 75,000 a song. You would know the price today of what a Kesari Lal song would go at. It's 18 plus lakhs today.
Wow. And out of regional market, which market did the best for you?
So I think we had success in all fronts, sporadically. And like I said that, you can't put your finger on which song is going to work or which album is going to work. But we started generating hits in the South as well. We started generating hits in Marathi as well. Sirat hit through the roof at that point of time, which was in an in-house production of Zee Studios.
It became internationally also.
Absolutely. So Sirat just broke barriers. And with Sirat breaking barriers, the past work of Ajay Atul started just kind of, rising. And that's how it kind of, the algorithms over time started working, So Marathi started doing well. Bhojpuri was doing very wonderfully well. I started acquiring Bhojpuri films, which had Kesari and lots of other actors. They started doing well. A lot of our films, initial phases of Bhojpuri films, all crossed 500, 600 million views, those songs. So success was coming across all languages and all fronts. We had major success in some Bengali content as well. So it was just, we were going with the flow.
और आपने बोला कि जब आपने लॉन्च किया तो हर 1 साल 2 साल में एक नया प्लेटफॉर्म आ रहा था
जी।
अब मेरे ख्याल से उल्टा हो रहा है अभी टिकटॉक बंद हुआ
जी।
टिकटॉक बंद होने के बाद बहुत सारी ऐप्स आई धीरे धीरे करके वो भी सारी बंद हुई कुछ ही बची हैं फिर अभी विंक थोड़े दिन पहले बंद हुआ गाना ऑल्सो वेंट फ्रॉम फ्री टू पेड हंगामा ऑल्सो वेंट फ्रॉम फ्री टू पेड तो क्या म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री के लिए ये बुरा दौर है या अच्छा दौर है ओवरऑल इंडस्ट्री के लिए
At one point of time, we had 9 streaming services, like you rightly said.
We still have 8, मतलब हाँ उसमें से
Yeah, I mean
maximum paid चली गई.
Absolutely. So, but the money that was coming in through these services was a very, very healthy amount of money coming in to the industry, of course. I knew this money is not going to last forever because ultimately it was funding money, VC money, investment money. Right? So at some point of time, I did sense that it's not going to last too long. And towards the last few years, we started becoming a little cautious towards how much we want to acquire and at what price we want to acquire. With services moving from free to paid, you've actually lost 98% of your revenue.
There's no minimum guarantee.
Absolutely. Yeah. So some place, for example, if you're making, 100 rupees, the minute it goes kind of pay, you're ending up making less than a rupee 50 paisa. That's the difference where a lot of MGs off the table were just knocked off. And I think we were quite cognizant of the fact that this money is declining, right? We were well aware of it, that it's not going to last so long. Right? So consciously, we built our strategies towards dependency on YouTube. From day one, my dependency on the monetization and focus of content creation was YouTube. My measure of content, the success of content, the working of content, consumption of content always remained YouTube because it was a model which is up and running, right? It was an ad share model. YouTube sells ads, they share with the partners, and the ecosystem is up and running. It can't shut down. So to come to your question, I think it's a correction where we did see a plateau and there's a correction. And once you accept that this is a correction, the organic growth from there will continue. You will not see that 40, 50% growth happening year on year that happened in the last 10 years. वो दौर नहीं आएगा. But you will see the organic consumption happening as more and more paid subscribers start paying for money. वो conversion आना ही है at some point of time, right? And that's where the growth will come. The next phase of YouTube is set for a good growth. The current reach, to the best of my knowledge, is about 500, 600 million audios. I think the journey is for the next 500 million. That's the growth lying ahead. So people need to think content basis the platform, right? So a lot of labels at that point of time, pre-COVID, were designing content basis a streaming platform, which was audio. I never thought audio. I would only think video. Audio did not even, it was a blur for me, audio.
But for a lot of people, the audio works as well.
It does. I'm not denying it. But the strategy that we adopted was video-led strategy and not audio-led strategy.
मुझे याद है, इनफैक्ट मेरी जब आपसे बात होती थी, बहुत सारे लोग बीच में कंप्लेन कर रहे थे कि उनके यूट्यूब रेवेन्यूज बहुत ड्रॉप हो गए.
जी.
एंड उसी टाइम पे आपने बोला था मेरा तो बढ़ रहा है.
जी.
सो अगर मैं आपसे बोलूँ कि 100 रुपये अगर आपका रेवेन्यू है, I mean, if you don't get me exact numbers, but what of amount of it comes from YouTube, what from the streaming services, and what from all other sources of revenue?
I think any Indian major service label dependency on YouTube is over 50%.
For everybody?
For an Indian label.
Wow.
Right? Because video is high. Right? The video consumption is high. अगर आप आज भी जाओगे, who are the top artists on YouTube? It's Alka Yagnik, it's Kumar Sanu, it's Udit Narayan. These are in the top 3-4 slots, yeah. Right? Which actually tells you that
Tips and Ishtara are making money.
Oh, I'm sure they make a lot of money. So a lot of, and of course, film content lives forever, right? It's so you know who are the labels who own film content, right? So and that's the longevity of film content. The video of film content lives forever.
So 100 में से अगर 50 YouTube से आता है, streaming से कितना रुपए आएगा approximately?
So I would sense a 30% odd.
और 20
or
रुपए
maybe
में सब आ
25%.
गया. 20 रुपए में सब आ गया.
Remaining platforms.
TPL, IPRS, publishing, television, sync, all kinds of revenue.
Absolutely.
So हम जितने भी ये sync की बात करते हैं या deals की बात करते हैं, that still doesn't constitute the large amount of revenue for anybody.
That's right.
Okay. And आपको क्या लगता है कि अभी हमारी, because सब बात कर रहे हैं, अभी ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स आ रहे हैं और पिछले 10 साल में मुझे नहीं लगता है कि कोई भी ऐसा साल गया है जहाँ पे जैसे जी ने इन्वेस्ट किया है वैसा एक लार्ज इन्वेस्टर आके जिसने इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया हो. बिलीव हैज कम एंड देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल, वार्नर हैज कम, इन अ बिग वे, एंड हर साल कोई ना कोई आ रहा है. हर रोज कम से कम 10 नए लेबल खुल रहे हैं, आर्टिस्ट अपना लेबल खोल रहे हैं और इन्वेस्टमेंट धड़ल्ले से आए जा रहा है. हर जगह से डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर पैसा डाल रहे हैं लेबल्स को वो करने के लिए. आप भी अपना नया लेबल शुरू कर जी. तो सब जब इतना पैसा डाल रहे हैं तो कुछ तो एक होप होगा कि, क्योंकि इंडस्ट्री का रेवेन्यू मेरे ख्याल से 3,500-4,000 हज़ार करोड़ रुपए, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, अप्रॉक्सीमेटली. तो इतना पैसा आपके हिसाब से क्या इंडस्ट्री बढ़ने वाली है, और बढ़ने वाली है तो कैसे बढ़ेगी?
तो मैं तो यही सोच रहा हूँ कि कंजम्पशन तो बढ़ रहा है, सबके यूट्यूब नंबर्स व्यूअरशिप वाइज तो बढ़ ही रहे हैं, सबके इंस्टाग्राम रील्स आर रनिंग इनटू बिलियंस. कंजम्पशन बढ़ रहा है, money has to follow. One medium goes down, maybe the streaming industry is course correcting and moving to a paid model. There is something else which is going to come up. So content will always continue to get investment. And it's not new. It's always been the case. When we came in 2014, we were the new kids on the block investing in content, right? Now distributors are doing it. I have a lot of partners who are ready to invest big amount of money now in music and films and stuff. It's just endless. So I think content ka faith hai, consumption is going on. Consumption is very large. And as long as there's consumption, money is to follow.
और हैप्पी मीडिया में आप ऐसा क्या अलग कर रहे हो जो you'll be able to crack the code again?
So I think happy music for me brings in the same excitement and zeal what I did with Zee Music 10 years ago. तब के मेरे challenges अलग थे, तब मेरे को पता नहीं था क्या करना है, अब मुझे पता है क्या करना है, right? Obviously the market is very cluttered. And every artist, like you rightly said, has his own label. If I'm not wrong, every day 100 songs release. in the Hindi ecosystem.
Yeah.
Every day 100 songs.
I'm sure more than that.
Yeah, if not wrong.
Yeah.
Consumer क्या क्या सुनेगा? Right? So if you understand what is the environment and design your content strategy basis that, you will be successful. And that is what I'm doing and happy. My structure is very different. It's a very cost-effective structure and a volume play structure. So think of it that I'm going to Delhi. I'm not taking a flight. मैं साइकिल पे जा रहा हूँ दिल्ली. पहुंच जाऊंगा 2 दिन में, 3 दिन में पहुंच जाऊंगा. पर पहुंचूंगा.
तो ओके, सो आप सिर्फ म्यूजिक करोगे या फिल्में भी प्रोड्यूस करोगे, कंटेंट और भी बनाओगे?
तासम पैशन तो है, फिल्मों का अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. तो वी आर वर्किंग ऑन 2 स्क्रिप्ट्स टू स्टार्ट विद राइट नाउ. वो भी काम चालू है. एज दे गेट द लाइट ऑफ द डे, that will continue. Happy is also working with several partners, producers on advisory front. A lot of people call me for help us on this front, help us on that front. So helping people out creatively, deals wise, how to do this, how to do that. Help me on music, creation, creative front. So I'm more than happy to help everyone. So Happy is here to help. So yes, we'll do everything. We'll do a lot more, but of course, we'll do it at our pace.
तो हैप्पी में अभी क्या क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ है लोगों के लिए, आर्टिस्ट के लिए, अदर कंटेंट प्रोड्यूसर्स के लिए, एग्जीक्यूटिव्स के लिए, क्या क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ है आपके हिसाब से?
सो पहले हैप्पी म्यूजिक लॉन्च करेंगे विद अ फोकस ऑफ वर्किंग विद न्यू टैलेंट. जी म्यूजिक में भी आई फोकस्ड अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क ऑन न्यू टैलेंट. And I think that the new talent is the generation that will emerge in the next 10 years. We all never imagined that, a new artist called Hanuman Kind would have done what it's phenomenally achieved for the Indian music industry or the global music industry, as you would call it. So yes, our focus will remain towards pushing new talent, discovering new talent, giving new writers, new composers, new singers that platform, that opportunity with the expertise of what I've had and built over the last 10 years, right? So I think the opportunity is endless. Music is in our DNA. I think everyone somewhere is a great singer in this country. Somewhere deep down, they know enough about music, and they can kind of, start bringing their dreams to life. So reach out to us. We are more than happy to kind of collaborate with.
That was my next question. Ki,
yes.
Kumar sir had come here, Vikram had come here. I mean, I asked this to everybody कि I'm that singer, composer, lyricist और producer. मैं कैसे आपको रीच करूं, पहला सवाल. दूसरी सवाल, मैं नहीं चाहता कि मैं आपको डिस्टर्ब करूं. और आपको एग्जैक्टली किन किन चीज़ों की ज़रूरत है और मैं किस तरीके से अपना कंटेंट आपको भेजूं ताकि मेरा कंटेंट आप सुनो, उसका चांसेस ज़्यादा हो.
सो तासिम, इसका जवाब मैं एक सिंपल तरीके से देता हूँ. जब मैं जी म्यूजिक पे था ना, मुझे दिन के 100 गाने आते थे और मैं 100 गाने सुनता था. मैं आज भी सुनूंगा. Because you don't know which are the ones that you'd want to put your bets on. You'll have to hear them. Somebody will have to hear them, right? So to answer your question is, reach out to me directly. My coordinates, email addresses, my contact numbers will be readily available. We'll flash it out under the description. And reach out to us. Send us your content. If we believe in the content, we will start working towards it.
Should we send you 1 song, 2 song?
Send me all the content. Everybody can send me their content.
And should people send their cover versions as well? Or because if I'm a singer, I don't know how to compose.
Yeah.
I want you to reach out my voice.
Please send us your
And if
voice.
I'm a lyricist, how would I do?
Or send us, write something and send it to us. Right? We will try and stitch up a deal with a composer. We'll try and marry 2 great things together. So yes, we have the ability to kind of create great content with new talent. And that's something which is, I believe, my expertise.
तो ये तो हो गया आर्टिस्ट की बात.
जी.
आर्टिस्ट के अलावा कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी है?
At this point of time, no. But maybe later on, we will have a lot of technicians which would involve programming, musicians and stuff at a later stage. But at this point of time, we are looking at just ready to create songs, which is the core composition, lyrics, singer.
सर, हम लोगों का एक सेगमेंट है आस्क द गेस्ट, जिसमें हम लोगों ने सोशल मीडिया पे पोस्ट किया था। हमारे व्यूअर्स बहुत सारे सवाल भेजते हैं, तो वो सारे सवाल एक एक करके हम आपसे पूछना चाहेंगे। पहला है कि मिनिमम गारंटी और एडवांस डील कैसे होती हैं, और लेबल्स और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर डीएसपी के बीच कौन से टाइप की डील्स होती हैं?
सो डील्स अलग अलग टाइप की होती हैं. मिनिमम गारंटी मीन्स अ मिनिमम गारंटी वेदर द प्लेटफॉर्म रिकूप्स और नॉट. वो साल की लीज है फॉर 12 months और 24 months, वट एवर द टर्म इज, एंड उसके बाद में अ फ्रेश डील स्ट्रक. दैट्स अ मिनिमम गारंटी. अपसाइड हुआ इट कम्स, डाउनसाइड हुआ दैट्स द प्लेटफॉर्म्स लॉस. एडवांस क्या होता है? आप पैसा एडवांस में लेते हो, फिर वो रिकवर करेगा प्लेटफॉर्म. वो रिकवर करने के बाद में some commissions and then you'll get an overflow. So an advance model is money you've taken, but you may not get the second year and third year money if the catalog doesn't work.
करेक्ट, करेक्ट.
That's a difference.
और ये मेरे ख्याल से जो मिनिमम गारंटी की डील है वो भी आप तभी कर सकते हो जब आपके पास एक बहुत ही साइजेबल कैटलॉग हो.
बिल्कुल.
कि आप समझ लीजिए अगर इंडिया में 100% मार्केट शेयर है तो आपकी मार्केट शेयर 10, 15, 20% है. करेक्ट, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग. किसी की अगर 1% होगी तो उसको मिनिमम गारंटी डील शायद ही मिलेगी.
I wouldn't say that. I would qualify it as a major catalog size.
हाँ.
So even if you have a 3, 4, 5% market share, but you have a sizable catalog, I think labels will, platforms will set.
साइजेबल कैटलॉग इज द राइट
Absolutely,
वर्ड.
it's the right word.
और दूसरा जो एडवांसेस भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर आपको देते हैं वो आपको देते हैं ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ योर पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस,
जी.
या फिर आपकी क्रेडिबिलिटी कि आप कोई ऐसा कंटेंट डेवलप कर पाओगे आपके एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से. फॉर एग्जांपल आप इंडस्ट्री में रह चुके, आपने जी म्यूजिक बिल्ड किया है, सो टुडे हैप्पी म्यूजिक माइट नॉट हैव एग्जिस्टिंग कंटेंट, बट क्योंकि आपकी क्रेडिबिलिटी है एज एन एग्जीक्यूटिव, आपने हिट प्रोड्यूस किए हैं, तो somebody would be ready to offer you advance deals. बट इंस्टेड अगर आपकी जगह कोई और आएगा तो उसको एडवांस डील शायद नहीं मिलेंगी.
I guess when you start, you're starting from ground zero, right? It'll take time to build up the catalog again. So can a platform do without you? Yes, they can do without you, right? So that is why you need to kind of go to the distributors and work with partners who have a larger catalog.
Correct.
And they assemble multiple labels put together and they are able to negotiate MGs or advances and stuff. So that's how the model works there, pretty much.
दूसरे कौन से सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं जो लेबल डीडीएक्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए डीएसपी और पब्लिशिंग सोसाइटीज को ऐसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करने के लिए यूज करते हैं?
So I think most DSPs neutrally integrated a service called Fuga. I remember Fuga was used by us at most platforms. It is very easy and very convenient to kind of use that. At the press of a button, you could go live on major platforms. Beyond that, I don't think any so-called specific software is required. Most DSPs are now integrated with these third-party so-called Fugas services.
एंड यूट्यूब पे तो आप स्ट्रेट अवे अपलोड कर सकते हो, कोई स्ट्रेस है ही नहीं. और कौन से सॉफ्टवेयर एसेट ऑडियोज और वीडियोस कैटलॉग को मैनेज करने के लिए यूज करते हैं?
I guess that's the USP that every label would have of its own to manage their own internal software. So we also would have our own.
It's not a public software.
It's not a public software.
License
It's developed in-house and it's to maintain your catalog and so forth. And I'm sure all the majors similarly use the same procedure.
Okay. जब लेबल्स किसी आर्टिस्ट को साइन करते हैं, चाहे वो सिंगर हो, कंपोजर हो या लिरिसिस्ट, क्या उन्हें पर वर्क पे किया जाता है या मंथली सैलरी? इंडियन म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री में लेबल्स के साथ किस टाइप की डील्स होती हैं?
डील्स अलग अलग होती हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ डील्स होती हैं. पर सॉन्ग डील्स होती हैं कई सिंगरों के साथ में, दैट फॉर एवरी सॉन्ग यू सिंग यू गेट एन एक्स अमाउंट ऑफ रेम्यूनरेशन. विद कंपोजर्स दे कुड बी एन अपफ्रंट फी प्लस अ पार्टनरशिप, a rev share. So it could be depending on various forms of how you would like to strike a deal. I don't think the salary format exists in the majors, at least with the established artists. That doesn't work for the artist. It doesn't work for the label also. It's you don't want to be stuck with an artist that's not able to perform and you're still on salary payrolls.
मेरे ख्याल सैलरी वाला का कोई शुरू भी करता है तो 7 दिन चलता भी नहीं
जी,
है.
बिल्कुल.
इट्स ओके. जब लेबल्स म्यूजिक राइट्स एक्वायर करते हैं, चाहे वो सिंगल हो या मूवी का एल्बम, वो कैसे इवैल्यूएट करते हैं कि कितना अमाउंट में खरीदना चाहिए और मार्केटिंग में कितना इन्वेस्ट करना है? वो कैसे समझते हैं कि अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट रिकवर करने में उनको कितना टाइम लगेगा?
That's a golden question which no answers are there. So it's difficult to assess what is the right price and what should be the value for this product. But there are large benchmark indicators that a particular actor of an X level will have a similar-ish kind of a price point, right? B level project will have a range of this types. But of course, within that also there will be outbreaks, right? So you may have a newcomer a movie which may be a musical. A good example would be an Ashiki, for example, and just break through barriers on music, right? So that is again on the conviction of what you see in the music, the maker, what credibility the makers come with. There are some filmmakers who I would blindly want to kind of run behind and just pick up their music. Those are so-called the musical ears, I would call them, of the gems of this industry, right? There are some makers who I would run away from, not wanting to buy their music, because that music would be, I would call it BGM. I wouldn't call it music.
बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक।
Yeah.
ओके, तो ये मेरे भाई पोकर के गेम जैसा है।
जी बिल्कुल।
It's a gamble.
You don't know.
I mean, the more you get into it, the more experienced you become.
You may have the best of names
Yeah,
on a project and the music may not work.
correct. ओके, क्या लेबल्स एआई जैसी टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करते हैं म्यूजिक खरीदने के लिए, चाहे वो सिंगल्स हो या फिल्म एल्बम्स, या यही एनालाइज करने के लिए कि कितने टाइम में वो अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट रिकवर कर सकते हैं या गाना चलेगा या नहीं?
So my opinion of AI is a tool that can be used to help you and not necessarily replace. I believe the emotion of music cannot be generated through AI. AI is learning somebody's work and then predicting it. What about the person who's created something new?
True.
That's the answer for you. That use AI to assist yourself, not to benchmark and replace.
ओके, अनुराग, इंडियन पॉप म्यूजिक में एल्बम्स ड्रॉप करने का ट्रेंड कुछ कम हो गया है, इसका रीजन क्या है?
I guess trend कम नहीं हुआ है.
इनफैक्ट अब तो काफी
In fact,
album
बढ़ ही रहा है.
बढ़ रहा है।
The number of songs releasing per day are exceeding 100 songs per day.
Actually, somebody said it's 1,000 songs.
It could be 1,000. Maybe I'm wrong. So it'll be great to ask a streaming service how many songs you release in a day. You get a fair idea. And I think it's just increasing because every artist has now become a micro label or has his own label, you know. So that's the opportunity that the digital ecosystem provides an artist today.
इंडिया में म्यूजिक का फ्यूचर क्या है?
So let's go back to the 50s. Public sunti thi music. 70s, public sunti thi. 80s, 90s. It just doesn't stop. Even today, music consumption is massively on YouTube, massively on Reels today. Consumption is happening. So trend तो बढ़ेगा ही बढ़ेगा. Consumption हो रहा है.
फ्यूचर तो है, मतलब
जी.
फ्यूचर तो बढ़ेगा ही।
बिल्कुल।
I'm also sure. सर, अगला सवाल है कि एक एस्पायरिंग सिंगर सॉन्ग राइटर जो इंग्लिश म्यूजिक में काम कर रहे हैं इंडिया में, या इंग्लिश म्यूजिक लिख रहा है, आप क्या एडवाइस देंगे?
मैं तो बोलूँगा कंटेंट अपना बनाओ और खुद रिलीज कर दो. Don't wait for anyone to back you up. Don't keep knocking doors for years and years thinking that somebody's going to back you up. Go ahead with your conviction, release your content and see what it does. Learn from there, adapt, make more.
You never know.
Absolutely.
सर, क्या आपको लगता है कि म्यूजिक चैनल्स या किसी भी म्यूजिशियंस को भी यूथ के म्यूजिक चॉइस पर इम्पैक्ट करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है?
Impact तो होता है. I guess today's generation is wise enough. At one point of time, a legendary artist was accused of spoiling the youth with alcohol in their lyrics, and but it's up to you how you kind of use that, right? So obviously be mindful of morality is what I would follow as a principle. I would not vouch for content which is against morals as such. But yeah, I think it's go out, put your content out. Be morally mindful.
है एक सिंपल सवाल, एक म्यूजिक कंपोजर कैसे अपनी म्यूजिक पिच कर सकता है और टॉप लेवल से रिप्लाई ले सकता है? आई मीन, आप अपना बता सकते हो?
So at Happy, we are definitely open. You can reach out to me. My coordinates are there. You can send out your music to us. We will respond with a yes, no, let's work on it.
और कितने दिन में रिप्लाई नहीं आया तो पता चलना चाहिए कि अब मेरा काम नहीं बन रहा?
Well, it's difficult to say that. You never know what is the priority of that person who's making the decision. But it's good to send a reminder that, hey, waiting for your response to come in. Aapka jawab nahi aaya. Don't give up. You never know.
Okay. And in your career, if you have to say, सबसे बड़ी सक्सेस और सबसे बड़ी फेलियर कौन सी है?
My career has been full of challenges, Tarsem. So failures have been several, but you learn from those failures and you try and adapt, modify, and overcome those things. So as an example, there are several music projects which have not worked, right? Several films that have not worked. That does not mean you stop making films or stop making music, right? You try and kind of figure out what's not worked, what has not resonated. And in the case of a song, it's so difficult to point out what has not resonated. Somebody might say the lyrics has not worked. Somebody might say the composition has not worked. Somebody might say the sound is dated. Somebody might say the visual hasn't complemented the song. So it's very difficult to pinpoint what has not worked in the music industry.
In fact, you were mentioning, हम हर आर्टिस्ट से पूछते हैं कि रिजेक्शन स्टोरीज हैं क्या आपकी, आपको कैसा फील होता है, बट आपको भी बहुत बार रिजेक्शन मिला ही होगा, आर्टिस्ट, प्रोड्यूसर्स, एंड समटाइम्स यू मस्ट हैव पेव्ड योर वे थ्रू फॉर अ सॉन्ग एंड मस्ट हैव वर्कड.
तो जैसे मैंने कहा था कि मैंने एक बैंक बनाया था गानों का जो मेरी कन्विक्शन के हिसाब से थी, एंड आई वुड सेंड दो सॉन्ग्स टू प्रोड्यूसर्स, डायरेक्टर्स, एंड लाइक द नॉर्मल कोर्स दैट एवरी कंपोजर वुड गो थ्रू, वी आल्सो फेस रिजेक्शन. नहीं यार, दिस डजंट फिट इन माय सिचुएशन, इट्स टू यंग, इट्स टू ओल्ड, the voice is not working for me. No, yeah, the composition is not working. It's too similar to another song. Right? Like I said, music has an opinion of everybody. Everybody has a right to the opinion. So getting everybody on board is the challenge, and you will face rejections in that process, right? You'll get it right in most places. You'll get it wrong also in several places.
So, कोई ऐसी स्टोरी याद है किसी गाने की?
So there was a song called Jitni Dafa, composed by Jeet Ganguly, written by Virag. And I personally thought that that song was a beautiful song. That song was pitched by me almost for a year or two to various producers and directors, and it didn't find its way. Finally, we ended up putting in a film called Parmanu, and see the destiny of that song. We just cut the trailer footage and slapped it onto the audio and dropped that song. That song wasn't even there in the film. As we speak today, I think it's crossed 600 million views.
There are so many songs like that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. और आजकल जैसे हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि YouTube पे, जैसे पहले आपने जब ट्रेंड शुरू किया था कि 100 मिलियन, 200 मिलियन, 500 मिलियन, 1000 मिलियन, वो ट्रेंड थोड़ा सा अभी कम हो गया है.
So I keep telling everybody कि you need to understand the consumer is not only seeking music on YouTube. There's so much content available. Somebody's looking up for cooking shows. Somebody's looking up for DIY content. Somebody's watching movies. आजकल तो full length movies आ गई हैं इतनी YouTube पे, जो पहले नहीं होती थी, right? So there's so much content available. It's just not music. The consumer's attention for music would have dropped now because there's so much content available. There's stand-up comedy content available. There is kids content available. There's so much content. There's serials available now. There's TV shows now going on YouTube. How much will a consumer watch?
तो उससे क्या YouTube पे इन्वेस्टमेंट कम हुई है लोगों की, या जैसे एडवर्टाइज करते थे लोग, व्यूज खरीदते थे, या मस्टर्ड जैसे आप लगाते थे?
I guess the algorithm is evolving by the day, Tarsem. Platforms know what the taste of a consumer is for several years now. And then the platform wants you to stay on the platform, right? They're not interested in whether it's X content, Y content, or Z content. As long as you're watching one of the pieces of content and you're there on my platform, the customers, the platform's happy that the customer's there with us, right? So you need to understand that the algorithm has changed. The appetite may have, if a consumer is consuming 20 songs a day, right? He's now consuming 4 songs a day or 5 songs a day. There's more exciting content available, right? But the day an exciting song comes in, you see the numbers coming on YouTube, right? The day a big film comes in, or an animal comes in, or a Gaddar comes in, you see the numbers skyrocketing on YouTube, right?
आपका कंटेंट अच्छा होगा तो ऑडियंस आ जाएगी।
Absolutely,
और
absolutely.
एक छोटा सा सवाल मेरे दिमाग में बहुत दिन से है, क्योंकि आजकल कम बात होती है उसके बारे में। पहले पायरेसी वाज अ बिग
जी।
प्रॉब्लम फॉर द म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री। क्या वो यूट्यूब स्ट्रीमिंग सर्विसेज आने के बाद खत्म हो गई या अभी भी एग्जिस्ट करती है?
Piracy exists करती है. All those websites are still up and running. But I guess the ease of using the so-called services like YouTube and streaming makes it relatively easier. You can make your own playlist today. You know that remains as part of your integral part of your life, right? Your playlist is your identity, and I guess once you're habituated to that, there's no reason why that customer is going to go back to piracy, right?
एंड आपका 25 साल का ऑलमोस्ट एक्सपीरियंस है करियर में। यू मस्ट बी 45 46
जी, 46.
एंड सो इस पूरे दौरान में व्हाट आर योर बिगेस्ट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग्स ऑफ लाइफ एंड करियर?
So my biggest learning is book. If you don't have that fire in you to achieve something, you're not going to be able to achieve it. Second, don't give up. You will fall. People will push you. People will tell you you're bad. People will tell you the song is shit. People will tell you it doesn't make sense. Go with your conviction. Don't give up. If you're convinced about it, the world will eventually be convinced.
वेल सेड। एंड हम लोग हमेशा आर्टिस्ट से पूछते हैं कि अगर कोई लेबल आपको अप्रोच करना चाहता है तो आप उनको क्या बताना चाहते हैं अपने और अपने काम के बारे में, ताकि इट्स ईजियर फॉर देम टू कम एंड रीच आउट टू यू। इन द सेम वे देयर माइट बी अ लॉट ऑफ आर्टिस्ट हु वांट्स टू वर्क विथ यू।
जी.
What are the piece of advice for you so that they are able to get the best for themselves when they deal with labels?
So my advice to new talent is please stop pitching your songs as a reference of another hit song. 90% of the pitches that I get, somebody will say, "Sir, मैंने ये गाना बनाया है." It's like ए दिल है मुश्किल. If I need ए दिल है मुश्किल, I will go to that creator. Why will I come to you? Right? So I think the identity of originality and doing something different is key, and that's the key area for any label to kind of want to kind of hear and see that how original and how different this music is from what's available readily in the market.
And a lot of times the artists are not capable of going and pitching their songs.
जी.
कभी मॉम डैड होते हैं, कभी दोस्त होते हैं, कभी वाइफ हस्बैंड होता है, कभी कोई मैनेजर होता है। Now when those people come, what are the advice for you, advice by you to them?
मैं यही देखता हूँ कि गाने की पहचान क्या है, कौन लेके आता है, it doesn't matter. You know, sometimes there are agents, sometimes there are parents, sometimes there are managers. But ultimately, I would seek the song and the merit of the song, where it comes from, what is the mode. That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Anurag, you have dealt with a lot of people. Why I'm asking this question, I'll tell you. I also come across with a lot of people जिनका बच्चा गाना गाना चाहता है, कोई कंपोजर बनना चाहता है। नाउ पेरेंट्स आर स्केयर्ड कि यार करियर चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, ये पढ़ाई में मन नहीं लगा रहा है, अब हम क्या करें, यू नो। अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम दे आर नॉट श्योर कि क्या करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए। लेट्स अज्यूम आई एम दैट पेरेंट और एनीबडी। कैसे जज करें कि बच्चे के ऊपर हम उसके पैशन को फॉलो करने दें या फिर नहीं करने दें, या इज देयर अ वे टू गेज और फिगर आउट?
That's in any industry. हर इंडस्ट्री में यही है कि हमारी क्रिकेट टीम देख लो. There are a handful of cricketers that get picked up. Still people are sending their kids for training and playing, right? So my advice is only this, that let the child follow his passion. Wherever there is passion, you will see an outcome at some point of time, right? The definition of timeline may not exist. Some people may get it early, some people may get it a little later. And we've seen enough of those examples where, you know, some singers have entered very late and they've kind of got a great recognition. Some have got it when they were singing in reality shows through their childhood, you know. So let the child follow his passion, yeah, whether it is singing or composing or playing cricket or any other sport or education.
I wish more and more parents do that, and they're capable of doing that. You've been an executive for a long time. So if there is a young executive who is seeing this podcast or reading this podcast, he wants to know that eventually to become a CEO or a business head or a chief business officer, what are the key skills I should have to be able to reach there?
तो मैंने ये कभी एक चेकलिस्ट बनाई नहीं कि CXO लेवल पे आने के लिए क्या क्या करना ज़रूरी है, बट मैंने एक चीज़ फॉलो की है कि वर्क लाइक इट्स योर वर्क इज़ योर पैशन. You have to work with everybody. It's a team sport. Solo you cannot deliver. So you have to be a team player. You have to be passionate about what you do. You have to have the right amount of aggression. You have to have the right amount of composure. You need to be composed as well. And you need to be very well read. You need to know what's happening. Because if you don't know what's happening, I don't know how you're going to compete.
Okay. And one thing if you would like to change in the music industry?
I wish everyone would just get together and, be one harmonious family where, we can improve the benefit of the industry, the entire ecosystem, just not labels, it's the artist ecosystem. There have been decades and decades of fights which, now have kind of started getting streamlined, whether it was the singers or whether it was the composers and stuff. I don't see a reason why it took so long.
Yeah.
Why are we not just able to sit on the table across and, resolve issues, work happily together and work for one cause? See the other industries, how they're able to kind of, lobby, they're able to present their cases to the authorities in a very robust manner. I think the music industry needs more representation.
We don't even have an industry status, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not too sure on that. But
do we have a music industry separately status? I don't think.
I'm not too sure on that. Yeah. But I think we just need to kind of be more, mindful of us as an industry together and try and resolve issues rather than, fight over issues with each other.
My last question, that there are a lot of people who know you, your family, artists, business colleagues, DSPs, बहुत सारे लोग हैं. आप क्या चाहते हैं कि वो आपके बारे में क्या सोचें? How would they perceive you?
Well, I've been the same guy in office. I've been the same guy at home. And so I don't struggle to have the identity maintenance of office or home. I am what I am. I am what I am with you or with any artist that I meet or with any friend or colleagues who I've been knowing for the last 20 years or so. It doesn't change. I'm still the same person, yeah.
Oh, can you define that same person? Sorry, I'm just dragging.
You are what you are. I don't know. I don't sit and, draw out that caricature trying to figure out what it is. But you are what you are. So I don't pay too much attention to that, actually.
So I think you are your free bird in one word.
Well, I would go with that.
So thank you, Anurag. मतलब बहुत बात करके मजा आया. I'm sure जितने भी artists, executives, बाकी लोग भी ये podcast देखेंगे, सुनेंगे, उनको बहुत मजा आएगा. And thank you for being how you are, always blunt and straight on the face.
The pleasure is mine. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Darshan.
Thank you.
Thank you.